Story 1. I've been working at this smoothie shop for about 3 years now, ever since I dropped out of college to help my mom with her medical bills. The pay isn't great, but the tips are decent, and my manager is pretty understanding about letting me pick up extra shifts when I need them. Most days are pretty chill. We get the usual morning rush of people grabbing breakfast smoothies before work, some gym rats after their workouts, and the occasional kid begging their parents for something with extra whipped cream. Today started like any other Tuesday. I clocked in at noon, tied my apron, and took over from my coworker who looked exhausted from the lunch crowd. The afternoon shift is usually quieter, which I appreciate. Gives me time to restock supplies, wipe down the blender stations, and maybe sneak in a quick break to check my phone. Around 2 in the afternoon, this woman walked in. She was probably in her 40s, wearing expensive-looking workout clothes that still had the tags visible on the side. Her sunglasses were pushed up on her head, and she had this air about her like she owned the place. I've worked retail long enough to recognize the type. Me, "Hi there, what can I get started for you today?" She barely glanced at the menu board before waving her hand dismissively. "Karen, I want something healthy, like super healthy. All the vegetables. I'm on a cleanse." Me, "Sure, we have our green goddess smoothie. It's got spinach, kale, cucumber, celery, green apple, and lemon. Really popular with." "Karen, whatever. Just make it large." I rang her up, and she tapped her card without even looking at the total. While I made her drink, she was on her phone the entire time, talking loudly to someone about her yoga instructor and how she was totally transforming her lifestyle. I blended everything according to the recipe, poured it into a large cup, and handed it to her with a smile. "Me, here you go. 1 green goddess smoothie." She took it without a word and left. I thought that was the end of it. I went back to restocking the napkin dispensers and helping a few other customers. Maybe 20 minutes passed. Then she stormed back in. The door slammed open so hard it made the little bell jingle violently. She marched straight up to the counter, and I could see her face was red with anger. "Karen, this is disgusting. I want a refund." I blinked at her, confused. Her cup was completely empty except for a few drops at the bottom. Me, "I'm sorry you didn't enjoy it. What was wrong with it?" "Karen, it tastes too healthy. It's like drinking grass. This is unacceptable." I tried to keep my customer service smile on, even though my brain was short-circuiting. Me, "Well, you did order our healthiest smoothie with all the vegetables. That's kind of what it's supposed to taste like." "Karen, I don't care. I want my money back." Me, "I understand you're unhappy, but I can't refund a drink that you've already finished. If there was something wrong with it, you should have come back after the first few sips." Her eyes went wide like I just insulted her entire family. "Karen, are you seriously refusing to refund me? Do you know who I am?" Me, "I'm sorry, but that's our policy. I didn't make the rules." "Karen, get me your manager. Now." Me, "She's not here right now. She won't be back until 5. That's when things got really crazy. This woman's face turned an even deeper shade of red. She looked down at her empty cup, then back at me. Before I could process what was happening, she threw the cup at me. It bounced off my chest and clattered onto the counter, drops of green liquid splattering everywhere. "Karen, then make it unhealthy." The entire shop went silent. The couple sitting by the window stopped mid-conversation. The teenager waiting for his order had his mouth hanging open. Me, "Ma'am, you need to leave. Right now." Karen, "I'm not going anywhere until I get what I paid for." Me, "You got exactly what you ordered. I'm calling the police if you don't leave." I pulled out my phone and started dialing. That seemed to snap her back to reality a little bit, but she wasn't done. "Karen, you're going to regret this. I'm posting about this on every review site. I'm calling corporate. I'll make sure you lose your job." Me, "We're a locally owned business. There is no corporate, and you're currently on camera." I pointed to the security camera in the corner. Her eyes followed my finger, and I watched the color drain from her face. "Karen, You can't. This is harassment. Me. You threw a cup at me and refused to leave after being asked. The police are on their way. She stood there for another few seconds, probably trying to figure out if I was bluffing. When she heard me giving the dispatcher our address, she grabbed her purse and practically ran out of the shop, nearly knocking over the teenager. The couple by the window started clapping. The teenager walked up to the counter with the biggest grin on his face. Teenager, dude, that was awesome. I got the whole thing on video if you need it. Me, seriously? Yeah, send that to me. He airdropped me the video, and I immediately sent it to my manager with a full explanation. When the police showed up about 10 minutes later, I showed them the security footage and the video from the teenager. They took my statement and said they'd file a report in case she tried to cause more trouble. My manager called me an hour later, laughing so hard she could barely speak. Apparently, the woman had tried to call and complain about me, but when my manager said she'd seen the video and would be forwarding it to the police if the woman came back, she hung up immediately. The video the teenager took ended up going viral after he posted it online. Millions of views. People were showing up at the shop asking if I was the smoothie guy and leaving massive tips. My manager even gave me a raise. Sometimes I still can't believe someone demanded I make a healthy smoothie unhealthy. But hey, at least I got a good story out of it. Story 2. I've worked at the same family-owned Italian restaurant for about 3 years now. It's a cozy place with maybe 20 tables, white tablecloths, and the kind of atmosphere where people come for anniversaries and birthday dinners. I started here right after dropping out of college because I realized sitting in lecture halls wasn't for me. My parents weren't thrilled, but the owner took a chance on me, and honestly, I've grown to love this job. I've seen all kinds of customers, from the sweetest elderly couples to demanding businessmen. But nothing could have prepared me for what happened last Tuesday evening. It was around 7 in the evening, right in the middle of dinner rush. I was wiping down a table near the window when the front door swung open. In walked a woman in her mid-40s wearing a designer outfit and oversized sunglasses, even though the sun had already set. Behind her trotted a golden retriever, fluffy and well-groomed, wearing what looked like a custom-made bandana. I walked over with my usual greeting smile. Me, good evening, welcome to. Karen, table for 2, please. Near the window if you have it. I glanced down at the dog, then back at her. Me, I'm sorry, ma'am, but we don't allow pets inside the restaurant unless they're service animals. Health code regulations. Her expression shifted immediately, like I just insulted her entire bloodline. Karen, excuse me. He's not a pet. He's family. Me, I understand, but unfortunately, the health department has strict rules about animals in dining establishments. If he's a registered service animal, that's different, but… Karen, are you seriously telling me my baby can't eat with me? Do you know how discriminatory that sounds? I could feel the eyes of nearby diners turning toward us. The dog sat there peacefully, completely oblivious to the tension. Me, it's not about discrimination, ma'am. It's literally the law. I could get the restaurant shut down if the health inspector saw a non-service animal inside. Karen, well, he is a service animal. He provides emotional support. I knew where this was going. I'd dealt with this before. Me, emotional support animals aren't covered under the same laws as service animals for public accommodations. Service animals are trained to perform specific tasks for people with disabilities. Karen, so now you're saying I don't have a disability. You can't just assume that by looking at me. Me, I'm not assuming anything. I'm just explaining the policy. If you'd like, we have a lovely patio area where you're welcome to dine with your dog. Karen, it's 50 degrees outside. You want us to freeze? Me, I'm sorry, but those are the only options I can offer. She stared at me for a long moment, her jaw clenched. Then she turned on her heel and marched toward a table by the window, her dog following obediently. She sat down and patted the chair next to her. The dog jumped up and sat like a person, front paws on the table. I hurried over to the manager's office and explained the situation. My manager, a no-nonsense woman who'd been running this place for 15 years, came out immediately. "Manager, ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to take your dog outside or to the patio area. Karen, I'm a paying customer, and I have every right to dine here with my family member." "Manager, your dog cannot sit at the table. This is a health code violation." Karen pulled out her phone and started dialing. "Karen, fine. Let's see what the health inspector has to say about your species discrimination." My manager and I exchanged glances. Species discrimination? That wasn't even a thing. Karen, speaking into her phone. "Yes. Hello? I'd like to report a restaurant that's refusing service based on species." "Yes, species. They're discriminating against my golden retriever." "Yes, I'm serious. The address is..." She rattled off our address, while other diners watched in stunned silence. Some looked annoyed, others amused. One older gentleman was trying very hard not to laugh. The manager stood her ground. "Manager, you're welcome to make that call, but the answer remains the same. The dog cannot dine inside." Karen hung up dramatically. "Karen, they said someone would be here within the hour." She then proceeded to snap her fingers at me. "Karen, since we're waiting, I'll have the fettuccine alfredo. And bring my son a plate too. With proper cutlery. He'll have the grilled chicken, no seasoning." "Me, ma'am, I cannot serve food to your dog at the table." "Karen, his name is Mr. Biscuits, and he's hungry." At this point, my manager had had enough. "Manager, you have two choices. Take your dog outside, or leave the restaurant. If you refuse, I'll call the police for trespassing." "Karen, this is outrageous. I'm never coming back here." "Manager, I'll note that in our system." The woman stood up abruptly, nearly knocking over her chair. She grabbed the dog's leash and stormed toward the exit, but not before turning back one final time. "Karen, I'm posting about this on every review site. Your business is finished." As the door slammed behind her, the entire restaurant erupted in applause. The older gentleman who'd been holding back laughter raised his wine glass toward us. "Older gentleman, well handled. That was better than the theater." What she didn't know was that 2 tables away sat the actual health inspector, who happened to be having dinner with his wife. He came up to us afterward, showed his credentials, and told us we'd handled everything perfectly. He even said he'd note in his records that we were properly enforcing health codes. My manager thanked him, and I went back to work with the biggest smile on my face. The rest of the evening went smoothly, and we never saw that woman or Mr. Biscuits again, though she did leave us a 1-star review online claiming we hated animals, which our regular customers quickly buried with positive reviews defending us. Story 3. I never thought I'd witness something like this when I boarded my flight to Seattle last month. I was heading there for a job interview at a tech company, something I'd been working toward for years after getting laid off from my previous position 6 months ago. Money was tight, but I'd managed to scrape together enough for this economy ticket, hoping this opportunity would turn things around for me. I got to my seat, 23B, right on the aisle. Perfect for my long legs. I stuffed my backpack under the seat in front of me and settled in, trying to calm my nerves about the interview. That's when I heard her voice cutting through the usual boarding chatter. "Karen, excuse me. I need to speak with someone in charge immediately." I looked up to see a woman in her late 30s standing in the aisle, one hand on her hip, the other gripping her son's shoulder. The kid looked about 12, wearing a private school uniform and staring at his phone, completely unbothered by the commotion his mother was creating. A flight attendant approached with a professional smile. "Flight attendant, how can I help you, ma'am?" "Karen, yes, there's been a terrible mistake. My son and I are seated in economy, but that's simply unacceptable. He needs to be in first class." "Flight attendant, I understand you'd prefer first class, but according to our records, you purchased 2 economy tickets. If you'd like to upgrade, I can check availability once we're at the gate desk." but we need to keep the aisle clear for other passengers. Karen, no, no, no. You don't understand. My son isn't like other children. He's gifted. He has an IQ of 160. He's mentally above economy class. Being surrounded by these people will stunt his intellectual development. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Several passengers around me exchanged glances. The kid still hadn't looked up from his phone. Flight attendant, ma'am, I appreciate your concern, but all passengers with economy tickets sit in economy. Now please, take your seats so we can allow others to board. Karen, this is discrimination. My son deserves better than this. He's reading college-level philosophy books. Do you know how rare that is? The flight attendant's smile was getting strained. A line of passengers had formed behind Karen, unable to get to their seats. I could see a man in a business suit checking his watch anxiously. A mother with a crying baby looked exhausted. Flight attendant, ma'am, I need you to take your seat now. You're blocking the aisle. Karen, I will not move until you upgrade us. My son's talents should be rewarded. He shouldn't have to sit with regular people. At this point, a senior flight attendant appeared. He was older, probably in his 50s, with the kind of calm authority that comes from dealing with difficult passengers for decades. Senior flight attendant, ma'am, I'm the lead flight attendant. What seems to be the problem? Karen, finally, someone with actual authority. Your employee here refuses to recognize that my son requires special accommodations due to his superior intellect. We need to be moved to first class immediately. Senior flight attendant, I see. Ma'am, intelligence isn't a criteria for seating assignments. If you'd like to upgrade, you'll need to purchase an upgrade, pending availability. But right now, you need to take your assigned seats or deplane. Karen, are you seriously threatening me? Do you know who I am? My husband is a lawyer. I will sue this airline for emotional distress. The senior flight attendant's expression didn't change. Senior flight attendant, ma'am, you have two options. Sit down in your assigned seats right now, or leave the aircraft. If you refuse both, we'll have security escort you off, and you'll be banned from flying with us. You have 30 seconds to decide. Karen, this is outrageous. I'm not moving. My son deserves first class. I watched as the kid finally looked up from his phone. Kid, Mom, can we just sit down? I don't even care. Karen, hush. Mommy's handling this. The senior flight attendant pulled out his radio. Senior flight attendant, this is flight 237. Requesting security to gate 14 for passenger removal. Karen's face went pale. Karen, wait, what? No, you can't do this. Senior flight attendant, you had your chance. Please gather your belongings and exit the aircraft. Karen, but my son, he needs to get to his academic competition. This is sabotaging his future. Senior flight attendant, you're sabotaging it yourself, ma'am. Security is on their way. 2 security officers appeared at the aircraft door within minutes. Karen tried arguing with them too, but they weren't having it. She was escorted off the plane, her son trailing behind her, looking absolutely mortified. As they disappeared down the jetway, the senior flight attendant made an announcement. Senior flight attendant, ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for the delay. We'll be departing shortly. The entire economy section erupted in applause. The business suit guy gave a relieved sigh. The mother with the baby actually smiled for the first time. I settled back into my seat, shaking my head. The flight attendant who dealt with Karen first stopped by my row. Flight attendant, thanks for your patience, everyone. Me, does that happen often? Flight attendant, more than you'd think. But it never gets old watching them realize we're serious about removing them. The flight took off 20 minutes later. I made it to Seattle, aced my interview, and got the job. Sometimes the universe rewards patience, and sometimes it just removes the obstacles blocking everyone's path. Story 4. I moved into this neighborhood about 5 years ago with my spouse and our 2 kids. We'd saved up for years to afford a house in a decent school district, and this place seemed perfect. Sure, there was a homeowners association, but the previous owner told us they were pretty laid back. Just basic stuff like keeping your lawn mowed and not painting your house neon pink. We figured we could handle that. For the first few years, everything was fine. We kept to ourselves mostly, worked on fixing up the house, and got to know a few neighbors. Our kids made friends with other kids on the street. It felt like we'd finally found our forever home. Then about 2 years ago, this woman got elected as the Homeowners Association president. She ran unopposed because nobody else wanted the job, and at first we didn't think much of it. But she turned out to be one of those people who let a tiny bit of power go straight to their head. She started sending out violation notices for the stupidest things. My neighbor got fined because his garbage can was visible from the street for 20 minutes after trash pickup. Another family got a warning because their kid left a bike on the front lawn overnight. It was getting ridiculous, but we all just paid the small fines and tried to stay off her radar. My family loves Christmas, like really loves it. Every year since the kids were babies, we've gone all out with decorations. Nothing crazy or tacky, just lots of lights, some inflatable snowmen, a nativity scene, and a big wreath on the door. It makes the kids happy, and honestly, it makes the whole street look festive. Our neighbors always complimented us on it. This past November, we started putting up our decorations the weekend after Thanksgiving, like we always do. We spent the whole Saturday stringing up lights, setting up the inflatables, and getting everything perfect. The kids were so excited. We made hot chocolate and Christmas cookies, and it was just a really nice family day. 2 days later, I found a letter in my mailbox. It was from the Homeowners Association, signed by Karen herself. I opened it expecting maybe a friendly newsletter or something. Instead, it was a violation notice with a $500 fine. The letter said our Christmas decorations were non-compliant with community standards and created excessive visual disruption. It cited some obscure rule about decorations needing approval if they exceeded certain size limits or included more than 3 lighted elements. I'd never even heard of this rule, and neither had anyone else on our street. I was furious. $500 for Christmas decorations. I immediately called the number on the letter. Karen, Homeowners Association President speaking. Me, hi, this is your neighbor from Maple Street. I just got a violation notice about my Christmas decorations. Karen, yes, I sent those out to several homes. Your display is excessive. Me, excessive? We've had the same decorations for 5 years. Nobody's ever complained. Karen, well, I'm enforcing the rules now. You have 1 week to remove the non-compliant items or the fine stands. Me, can I at least see this rule you're citing? I've never heard of it. Karen, it's in the Homeowners Association guidelines. You should have received a copy when you bought your house. Me, I've read those guidelines. There's nothing about Christmas decorations. Karen, there's a section about temporary structures and visual disruptions. Your inflatables qualify as temporary structures. Me, that section is about sheds and gazebos, not Christmas decorations. Karen, that's your interpretation. Mine is different, and I'm the president. The fine stands unless you comply. She hung up on me. I stood there staring at my phone, completely shocked. My spouse came over and asked what was wrong, and when I explained, they were just as angry as I was. We weren't the only ones. She'd sent the same letter to 4 other families on our street who had Christmas decorations up. We all got together that evening to talk about it. Everyone was ready to just take their decorations down to avoid the hassle, but I was so mad I couldn't let it go. My brother is a lawyer, so I called him for advice. He looked over the Homeowners Association guidelines and confirmed what I already knew. There was nothing in there about Christmas decorations. The rule she was citing was clearly meant for permanent or semi-permanent structures, not seasonal decorations. He said we could fight it, but it would cost more in legal fees than just paying the fine. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about how unfair it was. How she was ruining Christmas for our kids and our neighbors over some power trip. My spouse and I talked about it for hours, and then my spouse had an idea that made me laugh for the first time all day. My spouse works in tech and does a lot of work with projectors and video equipment. They suggested we project something onto our garage door at night. Nothing permanent, nothing that violated any rules, just a little creative expression. The next evening, we got to work. My spouse set up a high-powered projector in our upstairs window, angled perfectly at our garage door. Then we made a simple image, the word Grinch in big green letters, with a photo of Karen's face that we pulled from the Homeowners Association website underneath it. At 8 that night, we turned it on. The image lit up our entire garage door, bright and clear. Within minutes, neighbors started coming out of their houses. Some were laughing, others were taking pictures. A few came over to ask us about it. One of our neighbors knocked on our door. "Neighbor, this is amazing. How long are you going to keep it up?" "Me, every night until she drops the fines." The neighbor grinned and went back to their house. We could hear them laughing as they walked away. Karen noticed the next morning. She came storming over to our house at 7 in the morning, pounding on the door. I answered in my pajamas with my coffee in hand. "Karen, take that down immediately." "Me, take what down?" "Karen, that horrible projection. It's defamatory." "Me, there's no projection right now. I don't know what you're talking about." "Karen, you know exactly what I'm talking about? Last night, that image." "Me, oh, well, it's not a permanent structure. It's not even visible during the day. And I checked the guidelines, there's nothing about projections." "Karen, this is harassment." "Me, it's creative expression. Just like Christmas decorations are creative expression." Her face turned bright red. "Karen, I'll fine you for this too." "Me, for what?" "Show me the rule I'm breaking." She couldn't. She stood there sputtering for a minute, then turned and marched back to her house. We kept the projection going every single night. The local news even picked up the story after someone posted about it online. A reporter came out to interview us, and the story went viral. Suddenly, we had people driving through our neighborhood just to see the Grinch house. The Homeowners Association got flooded with complaints about Karen. Other homeowners who'd been dealing with her petty fines for months started speaking up. People started showing up to the monthly meetings to voice their concerns. 3 weeks later, we got a letter in the mail. It was from the Homeowners Association board, not Karen. They'd reviewed our case and determined that the Christmas decoration fine was issued in error. They were refunding our $500 plus an additional $200 for our trouble. They also informed us that Karen had been removed as president effective immediately. We took down the projection that night. We didn't need it anymore. Our Christmas decorations stayed up through New Year's, just like always. Karen moved out of the neighborhood about 2 months later. I heard she bought a condo downtown where there's no homeowners association at all. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Story 5. I've been working as a shift supervisor at this grocery store for about 5 years now. I started as a bagger when I was 19, fresh out of high school and unsure what I wanted to do with my life. My older brother had worked here through college and got me the job. I worked my way up from bagger to cashier, then to customer service, and finally to supervisor. It's not glamorous, but it pays my bills and my coworkers are like family. I've handled every kind of customer situation you can imagine, from price disputes to expired coupons to people trying to return half-eaten food. But nothing prepared me for her. She'd been shopping at our store for maybe 6 months when this happened. Always came in on weekday afternoons, always bought the same things, always had something to complain about. The cashiers had started calling her the regular whenever they saw her coming. Not in a good way. It was a Thursday afternoon, and I was covering the customer service desk because one of our employees had called in sick. I was processing a return when I saw her marching toward me, shopping cart in tow, with that look on her face that meant trouble. "Karen, I need to speak to the manager. Right now." "Me, I'm the supervisor on duty. How can I help you?" "Karen, no, I need the actual manager, the store manager." "Me, He's in a district meeting right now. I can help you with whatever you need, or I can have him call you when he gets back." She sighed dramatically, like I was purposely wasting her time. "Karen, fine. I've been shopping here for months now, and I think it's time this store showed some appreciation for my loyalty." "Me, we definitely appreciate your business. Is there something specific I can help with?" "Karen, yes. I want a dedicated cashier assigned to me." I blinked, not sure I'd heard her correctly. "Me, I'm sorry. Could you clarify what you mean?" "Karen, I want one cashier who knows my preferences, who knows how I like my groceries bagged, who understands that I don't want my bread squished or my eggs on the bottom. Someone who knows I always use reusable bags and that I separate my items by category." "Me, I understand you have preferences, and we train all our cashiers to bag items carefully. But we can't assign a specific cashier to one customer." "Karen, why not? I spend hundreds of dollars here every week." "Me, we have thousands of customers, and our cashiers work in shifts. They're not personal shoppers. They serve whoever comes through their line." "Karen, that's completely unacceptable. Do you know how frustrating it is to explain my preferences every single time? Some of your cashiers are incompetent." "Me, if you've had issues with how your groceries were bagged, I'm happy to address that. We can make sure our team is reminded about proper bagging techniques." "Karen, that's not good enough. I'm a loyal customer. I deserve special treatment." "Me, we treat all our customers equally and with respect." "Karen, equally. So you're saying someone who shops here once a month deserves the same treatment as someone like me who's here multiple times a week?" "Me? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Every customer is important to us." Her face turned red. "Karen, this is ridiculous. I want to file a complaint." "Me, you're welcome to do that. I can give you the corporate customer service number, or you can fill out a comment card." "Karen? Oh, I'll be doing much more than that." She pulled out her phone and started typing furiously while standing right there at my desk. Other customers were lining up behind her, waiting for service. "Me, ma'am, if you're filing a complaint, you're welcome to do that, but I need to help other customers." Karen, not looking up from her phone, "I'm almost done. Corporate needs to know about this denial of service." "Me, we haven't denied you any service." "Karen, you've denied me the personalized service I deserve as a loyal queen of this establishment." I had to bite my lip to keep from laughing. Did she really just call herself a queen? "Me, ma'am, we're a grocery store, not a monarchy." "Karen, don't get smart with me. You'll regret this when corporate sees my complaint." She finished typing, hit send with an exaggerated flourish, and stormed off, abandoning her shopping cart right there in the middle of the customer service area. I had to have someone take it back and restock everything. About an hour later, my store manager came back from his meeting. He called me into his office with an amused look on his face. "Manager, so corporate just forwarded me a complaint. Want to guess who it's from?" "Me, let me guess. The Regular?" "Manager, bingo. She titled it, 'Denial of Service to a Loyal Queen.' Capital L, capital Q." "Me, you're kidding." "Manager, I wish I was. She's demanding we assign her a personal cashier or she'll take her substantial business elsewhere." "Me, what did corporate say?" "Manager, they laughed and told me to handle it however I see fit. They deal with ridiculous complaints all day, but this one made the rounds in their office apparently." "Me, so what do we do?" "Manager, nothing. If she comes back, we treat her like any other customer. If she doesn't, well, that's her choice." I went back to work feeling pretty satisfied. About a week later, she came back in. I watched from the office as she shopped, and when she got to the registers, she stood there looking at each line before choosing one. She went through checkout without any drama. But here's the best part. About 2 weeks after that, I was working a closing shift when she came in. She got to the registers and saw that the only cashier available was our newest employee, a sweet college kid on his second day. She looked annoyed, but got in line anyway. I watched from customer service as he carefully bagged her groceries, putting heavy items on the bottom, keeping cold items together, and treating her eggs like they were made of glass. When he finished, she just grabbed her bags and left without a word. The kid came over to me looking worried. "Cashier, did I do something wrong?" That lady looked mad the whole time. Me, "No, you did everything right. That's just how she always looks." After that, she kept coming back, and she never mentioned the dedicated cashier thing again. She still complained about random things, but she'd clearly realized that no amount of complaining was going to get her a personal servant at a grocery store. My manager kept that complaint email printed out and pinned to his bulletin board in his office. Every time corporate visited, he'd show it to them, and they'd all have a good laugh. "Loyal Queen" became an inside joke among the staff. Whenever someone was being particularly difficult, we'd joke about their royal preferences.